Respect is never born from noise. Noise is the language of the desperate, the insecure, the ones clawing for validation. It hides behind fake laughs, sweaty handshakes, and overplayed confidence. True power is different. True power enters in silence, calm, steady, undeniable. It doesn't beg. It doesn't plead. It doesn't explain. It simply is. Imagine walking into a room and without a single word, the atmosphere bends. People shift in their seats. Eyes follow your movement. Conversations falter for a moment. The air itself thickens, because presence carries more weight than speech. That is authority. That is control. That is the art of commanding respect without sound. The weak chatter endlessly to fill the void of silence. The powerful weaponize silence like a blade. The weak thrash and overreact, eager to prove their strength. The powerful remain unmoved, letting others stumble over their need for recognition. A man of power doesn't chase approval. He doesn't justify himself. He allows the world to lean forward, to strain, to work for his recognition. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago. Respect is never spoken into existence. It is embodied, staged, and enforced through presence, a mask of quiet dominance, so potent it unsettles enemies, seduces allies, and makes even the boldest hesitate before crossing the line. Stay with me, because what I'm about to give you are 5 Machiavellian moves that let you command respect without uttering a single word. Miss this and you'll remain background noise. Master it, and every room you enter will bend to your presence. They say the eyes are the windows to the soul. That is sentimental poetry, not reality. In truth, the eyes are weapons. They are daggers. They are shields. They are crowns. A glance can crush or crown a man. Power is not about what you feel inside. It is about what you project outward. And the stare is projection in its purest, most primal form. When two predators meet in the wild, they do not negotiate. They do not speak. Dominance is decided in silence, in the gaze. One blinks, the other does not. That is the law of nature, and humans have not escaped it. Not in boardrooms, not in clubs, not even around family tables. We are animals first, and the stare speaks louder than any tongue. How do you wield it? The first rule, never dart. Weak men's eyes flit around like frightened prey scanning for predators. A strong man moves his gaze slowly, deliberately, like a king deciding who is worthy of attention. Every shift declares, I choose what matters. The second rule, hold, but do not glare. A glare is a bark. It is loud, desperate, unrefined. A steady hold, calm and unbroken, is a loaded gun resting on the table. It needs no bark, no strain. The stillness terrifies more than any attempt at intimidation. Relax the face, steady the eyes, let calmness radiate. Rage is transparent. Stillness is unnerving. The third rule, control the drop. The way you look away is as important as the hold. Break too soon, and you signal surrender. Hold endlessly, and you reek of insecurity, a man too desperate to prove his dominance. The master chooses his exit. He looks away with ease, with dismissal, as if to say, I am finished with you. That casual drop cuts deeper than 1,000 insults. Picture this. You sit in negotiation. The other side is throwing demands, raising voices, flooding the air with noise. You don't rush. You don't fidget. You don't answer. You look at them, steady, calm, unshaken. Let them drown in their own desperation. The silence and the stare combine into a noose. They will rush to fill the void, reveal weakness, stumble over explanations. All the while, your eyes remain firm, and theirs search frantically for escape. That is control. But understand this. The stare is not only a weapon of war. It is also a tool of allure. Lovers know this. A lingering gaze, slow and unwavering, pulls like gravity. The secret is not the eyes themselves, but what they project. Certainty. Certainty is magnetic. People crave it, they orbit it. The man who looks at the world as if it already belongs to him draws others in without effort. And here lies the truth most miss. You cannot fake it. You cannot rehearse it in front of a mirror until it becomes real. If your heart races, if your palms sweat, your eyes will betray you. They will jitter, they will break, they will dart. The Machiavellian stare is rooted in nonchalance, in being unbothered, anchored, untouchable. You cultivate it not by chasing approval, but by caring less for it. By realizing respect is not given, it is taken. Practice in small ways. Next time someone speaks, do not rush to nod. Do not rush to answer. Simply hold their gaze in calm silence. Watch them falter, scramble, over-explain. Feel how quickly the weight shifts. They perform for you. They try to win you back. That is the invisible transfer of power. Respect is not built on noise. It is built on tension. And nothing manufactures tension like the stare. It is primal. It is unnerving. And once mastered, it is unforgettable. With it, you'll find your voice no longer needs to shout. Your eyes will shout for you. Power does not start with words. It begins with the throne you carry on your back. Your posture. Posture is silent dominance. Posture is the architecture of authority. Watch a weak man enter a room, shoulders caved in, arms folded, head dipped. His body confesses what his lips try to deny: uncertainty, hesitation, submission. Now watch the powerful, upright, unhurried, still. Their bodies are fortresses. They are sitting on invisible thrones that everyone else instinctively recognizes. Stillness is command. Nervous men leak energy in taps, shifts, twitches. Every fidget is a confession. I am unsettled. I am not in control. The man who holds still radiates menace. He wastes no motion. He is the center, and nothing moves him. Shoulders decide the battlefield. Rounded shoulders collapse you inward. Rolled back shoulders frame your chest, open your lungs, and declare, I am here, unafraid. Muscles are not required for this. Discipline is. Strength begins in posture before it is carved in flesh. The head is a crown. Tilt it downward, and you appear broken. Tilt it skyward, and you appear arrogant. The crown position is level, steady, chin lifted slightly. Neither supplicant nor tyrant, just sovereign. Every movement must be deliberate. Posture is not stiffness. It is control, rising slowly, turning your head with precision, placing your hand with intent. These are silent performances. Haste is desperation. Slowness is mastery. Even sitting is performance. The weak collapse into chairs like peasants, grateful for rest. The powerful sit as if receiving an audience, back straight, legs planted or crossed with ease, arms resting without hiding. Not arrogance, but presence. The posture says, this is my ground. You are in my court. Picture another scene. A boardroom explodes with voices, clashing egos, heated arguments. You do not join the scramble. You sit calm, upright, silent. In the chaos, the gravitational pull belongs to you. The one man not fighting to be heard. Posture and silence weave together, and suddenly the room orbits you. Machiavelli wrote, men judge more by their eyes than by their hands. All men can see, but few can touch. They do not see your courage. They do not see your inner strength. They see only how you carry yourself. Posture is the costume of power. Master it, and you rule before you speak. To train this, imagine always that you wear an invisible crown. When you sit, picture yourself on a throne. When you stand, think of marble, immovable, unshaken. The mind leads the body, but the body also shapes the mind. When you hold posture, you begin to feel sovereign. And when you feel sovereign, others treat you as such. Yet eyes and posture are only part of the theater. Power also lives in symbols, in the things you wear, the objects you touch, the rituals you perform. Humans are not rational creatures. We are creatures of perception, and perception bends to symbols. Kings and generals drape themselves in robes, medals, scepters, not because gold gives them strength, but because symbols remind others of their station. Modern men forget this law. They enter the world sloppy, careless, drowning in cheap distractions, and then they wonder why no one respects them. Respect begins in appearances. Clothes are not decoration, they are armor. They are uniform. They broadcast discipline, order, and control. A man in wrinkled clothes and scuffed shoes screams, "I cannot govern myself." A man in sharp, deliberate attire whispers, "I govern everything." It is not luxury that matters, but precision. Fit, cleanliness, intention, grooming is command. Hair, beard, nails, small details that shout either order or chaos. Neglect them, and you appear distracted, weak. Master them, and you appear disciplined. Objects, too, are extensions of you. The cracked phone, the cheap pen, the tattered wallet, they betray you. But the weight of a fine watch, the glide of a smooth pen, the order of a tidy notebook, these whisper subconsciously that you operate at a higher standard. Symbols are silent signals, and people read them without knowing. Then come rituals. Rituals are theater, pouring a drink with deliberation, removing gloves before you speak, pausing before you sit, adjusting a cuff link. These are not habits. They are performances of authority. They slow time. They draw eyes. They make people wait, and waiting is respect. Entrances, too, are ritual. Do you rush into rooms, desperate for notice, or do you walk as if you are returning to your domain? A slow, steady entrance commands more than a speech. Machiavelli reminded us, a prince must always appear composed, disciplined, and firm, whether he is or not. Appearances are weapons. Symbols are signals. They speak for you before your voice is ever heard. Build your stage, curate your symbols, strip away what is careless, sloppy, cheap. Replace them with order, strength, precision, and respect will precede you like a herald, long before you ever open your mouth. They say power speaks in many voices, but the most devastating of them all is silence. Words scatter like arrows, but silence is the blade, hidden beneath the cloak, unseen until it cuts. In a world drowning in noise, those who master silence dominate without lifting a finger. The fool thinks control comes from endless explanations, from pleading or persuading. The wise know every word spent is a drop of blood, and the more you bleed, the weaker you become. When you withhold, when you watch others unravel into chatter, while you remain unreadable, you become the storm that terrifies not by sound, but by the silence before the strike. Machiavelli warned, a man who does not know how to be silent does not know how to reign. Each pause becomes a throne, each unsaid word a crown. The crowd fills your silence with their own fears. They imagine promises you never made, threats you never voiced, intentions you never revealed. And that imagination enslaves them far more tightly than your commands ever could. To master silence is to master the stage of human thought. When your rival expects fire, offer smoke. When they demand clarity, leave them drowning in mist. People beg to know where you stand. Never give them the satisfaction, because once they know, they can resist. But when they are guessing, doubting, torn between fear and hope, you hold their souls in your hand. Silence is the hunter's patience, the shadow in the forest. It does not announce itself. It waits. It stalks. It lets the prey grow restless, careless, until the final strike comes without warning. That is why the powerful do not speak. They calculate every glance, Every breath, every withheld answer builds a weight heavier than armies. Those who rush to fill the void are already defeated. They confess, they reveal, they crumble, and you, silent, unmoved, emerge as the one who does not chase approval, but commands it. But silence alone is not enough. A blade, no matter how sharp, is useless without the strike. All the watching, all the waiting, all the disguises mean nothing if you hesitate when the moment comes. The fox hides in shadow, but there must be a moment when it leaps with fangs bared. The lion prowls, but its strength lies not in the walk, but in the kill. The mistake of many is endless calculation, eternal hesitation. They prepare until opportunity slips through their fingers. They sharpen the sword until rust consumes the edge. But the master knows there comes a moment when waiting must end. Power is not just patience. It is decisive violence. The strike must be sudden, merciless, beyond doubt. It must end the question of who rules, who submits, who survives. Machiavelli said it best. Men should either be caressed or destroyed, because they can avenge a slight but not a fatal wound. To strike halfway is to invite revenge. To strike fully is to erase the possibility. Do not wound your enemy, annihilate them. When you choose silence, it must lead to thunder. When you choose patience, it must birth a storm. When you hold your hand, it must be only to deliver a blow that no one expected and no one recovers from. That is the moment you transform from schemer into sovereign. The strike cements everything that came before. Your eyes that watched, your posture that warned, your symbols that inspired, your silence that haunted, all of it converges in a single moment of execution. And if the strike is clean, no one remembers your silence as weakness. They remember it as terror before the lightning. They will fear your stillness because they now know it is the silence of the predator's crouch, not the coward's retreat. And here is the cruel wisdom. Most rulers fall because they strike too late or too softly. They believe in mercy when mercy is poison. They believe in fairness when fairness is a chain around their throat. But the world is not ruled by fairness. It is ruled by fear and by memory. You must leave a scar so deep that none dare to test you again. One great strike outweighs 1,000 warnings. One act of ruthless finality teaches more loyalty than endless speeches. Your subjects will forget your words, but they will never forget the execution that shook them. They will forget your promises, but not the rival who vanished overnight. In the silence after your strike, order is born. Machiavelli wrote, "It is much safer to be feared than loved, if one must choose." And the strike is how fear is written into the bones of men. Love fades, gratitude erodes, but fear, when tied to memory of decisive action, endures. Your enemies will whisper your name, not as a memory of kindness, but as a warning etched in fire. The beauty of the strike is that it does not need to be repeated. A ruler who strikes too often shows weakness. He looks desperate, insecure, like a man killing not for dominance but for survival. No, your strike must be rare but unforgettable. It must echo. It must create a silence louder than any words you could ever speak. That is why you prepare so carefully. That is why you wait so long. Because when the blow falls, it is not just your enemy who learns the lesson. It is everyone watching, and the eyes of the crowd are the true battlefield. The enemy dies once. The witnesses die 1,000 small deaths every time they recall the moment. Your silence taught them mystery. Your strike teaches them finality. Together they sculpt an image of power that no army can overthrow. But you must not mistake cruelty for power. Random violence is not mastery. It is the mark of the tyrant who burns out in madness. True cruelty is cold, calculated, sparing in its frequency, but absolute in its effect. The tyrant, lashes out daily, and breeds rebellion. The master strikes rarely and breeds fear. Every gesture must be chosen, every silence measured, every strike timed like the fall of an executioner's blade at dawn. Because in power, as in war, perception is victory, and perception is born from what others remember of you. Will they remember endless speeches, or the night the silence ended with thunder? Will they remember promises, or the rival who vanished without trace? That is what endures. That is how rulers ascend from men into myths, and myths cannot be killed. So remember the rhythm of power, the eyes that never miss, the posture that declares command, the symbols that bind men's loyalty, the silence that suffocates, and finally, the strike that defines everything. This is the architecture of fear, the throne built not on love, but on dominance. The weak will call it cruelty. The naive will call it manipulation, but the wise will recognize it as survival, as the natural law of rulers and ruled, because the world does not bend to kindness. It bends to the one who has the patience to wait, the silence to unsettle, and the decisiveness to destroy. And when you master all five, you will not just rule men, you will own their minds. They will obey not because you command, but because they cannot imagine resisting. So let your silence haunt them. Let your strike define them, because in the end, there is no greater power than to be the one who speaks least and is remembered most, the one whose stillness terrifies and whose action ends every doubt, the one who knows that history belongs not to the talkers, but to the few who see, who wait, and who strike. And if you have the courage to embody that truth, you will rise above the noise of men, untouchable, unforgettable, unchallenged. Stay with me, because the next lesson will not just whisper in your ear. It will carve itself into your bones.